Day 665 of doing a LeetCode problem every day until I get a job. All right, y'all, we're back again. Another day, another LeetCode problem where we're doing daily LeetCode problems. And today we have question number 2710, remove trailing zeros from a string. The difficulty level is easy, so don't worry because you already know we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand as possible. But before we get started, y'all, don't forget to like, hype, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you need any new Apple AirPods, go ahead and check out that link in the description so you can get you some. Now let's see what the question says. Given a positive integer num represented as a string, return the integer num without trailing zeros as a string. All right, y'all, so that sounds simple enough, but let's go ahead and take a look at these examples anyway, just to make sure that we are doing this problem correctly. So, in example 1, we have our input num equals an array of integers 5, 1, 2, 3, or excuse me, the input num equals a string 5, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 0, 0. Not an array of integers is a string. And the output is a string 5, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, right? So, and what we want to do is we want to remove these zeros and just return the string. But it gets complicated because it's a string and it's not an integer already, right? So we just have to mutate this string. Explanation says the integer 5, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 0, 0 has two trailing zeros. We remove them and return 5, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1. So yeah, once again, all we did was remove these trailing zeros and we are left with this. Similarly, in example 2, our input num equals a string 123. The output is 123 because there are no trailing zeros. The explanation says integer 123 has no trailing zeros, so we return integer 123. Boom, y'all. So I hope that makes sense. And now that we understand the question, let's get into the fun part, the actual solution, y'all. Solution is not that difficult. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to convert the input string into an array of characters. So we're just going to come right here, declare a variable called nums, and set that equal to an array, open up the parenthesis, and pass in num. Now, this is important because remember when at first I had said this was an array of integers, and I was mistaken because it's just a string and it's just one integer, right? So since num is a string, we need to turn it into an array, and this is how we turn it into an array. Now we're going to iterate from 0 up to length of the array, and we're going to use this check to check characters from the end of the string, right? Because the trailing zeros are at the end of the string. So we're going to say for I in 0 dot, sorry y'all, I in 0 dot dot less than nums dot count. We'll open up the bracket, and we're going to access characters from the back of the array. So we're going to say if nums square bracket nums dot count minus 1 minus I come outside of this, and we're going to say exclamation point, so does not equal, open up the quotation marks, 0, and pass in 0. Then what we are going to do, we're going to open up the bracket, and as soon as we find a character that is not 0, we know this is where the trailing zeros stop. So we're going to declare a variable called sum. We'll set that equal to a blank string. And we're going to create a new string using all characters from the start index up to the non-zero character, and this effectively is going to remove the trailing zeros. So we'll come right here underneath this, and we'll say for char in nums square bracket 0 dot 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 nums dot count minus 1 minus I. We'll come outside of that, we'll open up the brackets, and we'll say sum plus equals string, open up the parentheses, and pass in char. Now we need to return a new string without the trailing zeros by coming underneath this for loop, and we're going to say return sum. Boom. Now if the loop completes, that means that every character was 0, and in that case we could just return the original string. So we could just come right here and we could say return num. Boom, y'all, that's all she wrote. Let's give it a run. Make sure it runs properly. It's accepted, so let's go ahead and submit it. Make sure it's still accepted after that. And look at that, y'all. 8 milliseconds beats 81.82% of users. Not bad at all, y'all. So with that being said, make sure you get one more look at the code. And I hope y'all learned something today. And I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.